In today's episode, I sit down with Jaryd Green, founder of Jaryd Green Associates law firm in Suwanee, Georgia. Jaryd recently launched his own practice, and we talk about what it's like stepping out on your own and the tough lessons he's watched business owners learn the hard way. One of the most striking parts of our conversation was his perspective on selling a business. He explained how owners often lose leverage if they don't plan ahead, and how buyers in today's market know it. It's a reality most don't think about until it's too late. Jaryd also opened up about his family and how the opportunities created by his grandparents continue to shape the way he approaches both life and business. It's a conversation that mixes practical advice with personal perspective, and I think it'll give you something to reflect on no matter where you are in your business journey. Let's get into it. Welcome in, Jaryd. Thanks for coming in today, buddy.
Thanks, Carlos. Good to see you.
You were officially guest number 2 on the podcast. I appreciate you jumping at the bit to come in and have a chat today, man.
I appreciate you having me. Yeah, if you're not first, you're last, right? So
that's true. That is true. So like I said, this is Small Business Voices. I'm excited to have you on because you're a brand new small business owner. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that, what you got going on? And
yeah, so just officially opened my own law firm, hung a shingle about a month ago. So I am a month in, and I have gotten a lot of stuff done in that month that some of it, wasn't expecting. Mm-hmm. Some of it was expected. Mm-hmm. The client work never stops. Mm-hmm. And so finding those little times in between the client deliverables to make sure the business is set up the right way has been the real challenge.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're here.
Don't sleep much.
Being a month in. What would you mind sharing one of those things that just maybe caught you off guard? Or
yeah, I think the biggest thing is, many times when I am advising clients on their own small businesses, they have this spoken wheel formation. They really focus on, hey, I can do all this at once. And what I wasn't expecting is for some of the things to be more of a domino effect, where I can't quite do something until the other thing's done. Mm-hmm. And so, was able to get all my formation docs up and running right away, get my EIN in 5 minutes. I mean, the stuff I do every day for clients was the easy stuff for me. The stuff I don't do every day for clients because they're running their own businesses, that was the challenging thing. So
would you mind sharing a little bit about what, I just realized that I know what your business is.
Right.
But maybe the listeners don't.
Yeah, definitely. So I am an attorney. So I represent clients in various transactional matters. So I handle both residential and commercial real estate transactions. That's not just the closings. So I can do contract review, lease review, anything that touches the dirt. I can play in that sandbox. I also help small business owners, so new business owners, formation, operating agreements, but all the way through exits as well. So that could be partnership disputes where it's more of a hostile exit, or it could be an amicable exit. So some of the work that y'all do, supporting those key man policies or buy-sell agreements when a partner is exiting. And then in conjunction with that, I also do some estate planning work. So my estate planning work is really more geared towards the business owner because that's where I find I can provide the most value for them. Really take more of a, transactional real estate holdings and investment vehicle approach when it comes to their estate plans, because many business owners, when they pass away, they have no business contingency plan in place. And it's their biggest asset's their business. And they have a great will and it doesn't speak to their business. Yeah. Or they have a great trust, but it doesn't speak to their business.
Unfortunately, we see that a lot. And it's kind of one of those things where it's a lot of things when the time that you're thinking about it, it's too late, right? And it's a real challenge, I think, to get people to think about those things on the front end, right? When the waters are seemingly smooth, right? To start thinking about the worst, right? Nobody really wants to think about that. So have you found things that help with those types of conversations? Or?
I have. So one thing that I really try to focus on is planning the exit when you start. Planning what that goal is that's going to be coming up. And it may be in 3 years, it may be in 30 years, maybe in 300 years. I know Japanese companies have been around for hundreds of years and they have these amazing continuity plans. But the issue there is when founders, owners, and partners don't focus first on where they're going. They don't have a goal in mind on when they're exiting or how they're exiting. Is it going to be a legacy company? Or is it going to end when they pass? Do their kids or grandkids or great-grandkids going to keep going with that business? The focus on that needs to be done on the front end. And I think I shared with you when I first set up the business, buy-sell agreements, key man insurance policies, those are part of my initial setup checklist. And they're not done yet, right? I just formed a month ago.
Yeah.
But they're already on the list. And I think encouraging clients to have a full list and not just the things you need to get started. Hey, I opened a bank account. Great. Good job. Hey, I have an LLC. Great. Good job. But when those things start winding down, what's your plan?
Have you seen, I tend to think in stories, scenarios where something happens right to the business or an owner or one of the partners, and you find yourself thinking, man, if we had just done this, whatever, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we could have saved $100,000 or whatever. Like, do you have any stories?
I have some, obviously attorney-client privilege on specific details, but I actually see a scenario a lot of times with a family-owned company. It's closely held. There could be disputes within the family. There could be diagnosis of cancer, terminal illness that's unexpected for the family, and they don't have a plan for it. And, I'm actually going through one right now where both of the original owners passed away. They're trying to sell the business. The children have no interest in continuing to run it, but the value continues to go down every single month because the longer that these owners that founded it, that knew how to run the company inside and out, they didn't pass that knowledge on. Now, they have key people involved in terms of management. They can continue day-to-day operations. They can make payroll. But every single month that they go, they're losing that value. And, ultimately when the sale actually comes, that value is going to be driven way, way down. I mean, we're already 2 years after the death of one of the original partners. That's 2 years of downturn because the probate courts move slow. They don't move quickly. And one of the owners didn't even have a will. And then the other one actually did his will for him 7 days before he passed away. Now, thankfully, we were able to get that done. But I'm still unraveling and unwrapping the issues with this family. And they're not, they're issues that every family faces. But when you don't have a contingency plan in place for not just the unexpected, but the expected, everybody's going to pass away at some point. And if you're not thinking about that, this is how it goes because everybody, oh yeah, we're in such a hurry to sell. We want to sell right now. How much money can we get? Well, until the judge signs off, we're still in probate court. We were in probate court for 14 months. So now we're courting buyers, but the buyers essentially get to name their price because they're seeing the P&Ls. They're seeing the balance sheet. They're seeing the revenues drop. And so, essentially if families, and this is, almost an encouragement to founders, if you don't want your kids to lose and sell your company that you built for pennies on the dollar, then build a plan. And it doesn't have to be perfect from day one. That plan can change over time. That plan can adapt as your business adapts. But the biggest issue that I've had is, what do we sell now? They've got some patented technology. They've got some really, really great clients that love, their exclusivity on their licensed products that they purchase from this company that they've purchased for 30 years.
Wow.
But a lot of the stuff's on handshake deals right now because there was no plan. And so the plan has to be as important as the revenue. And that's the piece because the revenue comes and goes. But if you don't have a plan in place to protect that revenue for your generations down the line, and you don't have a contingency plan, you don't have a succession plan, every business, I don't care if you're a solo like me getting out started, I don't care if you have 500 employees. If you don't have a business succession plan and you don't have a way to pay for it, you don't have a way to retain that value, what are you doing?
Yeah. One of the things I found myself wanting to know more about as you were describing that is trying to find a buyer? Like what is, I mean, intuitively it makes sense, right? That you got a business, right? And you can't just go find somebody off the street to buy it. But are you helping with that? Are you helping them like find search firms? What does that even, what is that process?
So I see it about four ways. Many times you have a buyer that is an existing client or customer.
Okay.
And they're interested because they have proprietary product that business has made for them, or that they've had all these deliverables for years and years. They essentially want to buy that business because it helps them keep doing their business. A lot of that's in the industrial manufacturing, that industry. The other thing that I see though, is if you don't market a company publicly, so you don't list it for sale, you don't have a set market value for this company. It's privately held many times. Well, then you actually have to bring in a valuation company, and you could spend $5, $10, $15, $20,000 just getting a business valuated. And if you haven't done that on your last 3 to 5 years, they actually go back. They go back and do historicals to try to get you a bigger and better value. The issue there is any buyer can look at that valuation and go, well, this is in favor of the seller, so I don't agree with those. I'm going to get my own valuation done.
And they're going to pick your worst year.
And so your worst month, and that really, unfortunately, drives down the buyer pool in terms of, it gives the buyers more power, which for my buyer clients, they love it. They're like, oh, so-and-so passed away. They don't love that somebody passed away, but they love getting pennies on the value or pennies on the dollar value for a company, because so many times they're looking at this company from a perspective of they did such great business. They did such great deliverables, but they didn't have a plan. Again, it goes back to that plan, right? And the most important way, and this is kind of the third way that I see, is, you really focus on what the continuity is when you do have a plan. And right now, the biggest influx that I see in my industries are the blue-collar, great companies that have been family-owned plumbing companies, HVAC companies, roofing companies. They've been doing numbers for 20, 30, 40 years, and their kids have zero interest in taking over that family company. And the founder and owner has been relying on the fact that, hey, my kid's going to come around. They're going to want to run this company one day, right? They're going to do it. They're going to stop wanting to be an influencer, or they're going to stop wanting to be in social media marketing, and they're going to want to come run my plumbing company. And so the really, really savvy business buyers right now, they're buying those companies because they're coming in and saying, hey, you got a great book of business. You got loyal customers that have been with you for 20, 30 years. I'm buying your book of business. And then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to plug in marketing. I'm going to plug in social media. I'm going to plug in SEO. I'm going to make your website more sexy. I'm going to, I'm going to do some things that are going to drive this value. And they essentially become hands-off mailbox money businesses for these buyers.
Are these like the buyers one-off MBA type or PE, but mostly PE?
So usually the PE stuff, I don't really see private equity get involved unless it's upwards of about $15 million a year in revenue. The sweet spot for a lot of these buyers is about 5 to 15.
Okay.
So 5 to 15 million, you're getting a lot of return on your investment. You're getting a lot of return on your value. I've seen people buy businesses for $4 or $5 million that's doing 3 to 5 a year. They're recouping their money real fast. And it's solely because that seller didn't have anybody to take it over. And that kind of goes to the fourth point. The seller, this is the worst one. They shutter the business. They got a book of business, a book of clients. They have great balance sheet, great numbers, and they just shutter the business. They shut it down when they pass or when they get sick or when they're ready to retire because of those 1, 2, 3 reasons. And if there wasn't a broker that could fetch them a number, if there wasn't a business buyer that's going to bring that and see that value that wants to take them on, and if there isn't a family member to take it over, that's option 4. They shut it down. And it's the saddest thing because you see all these great businesses, small businesses, family-owned companies going out of business because the owner didn't have a choice, because choices 1 through 3 didn't exist for them.
I think probably the saddest part about that is I think initially when you think about that, you're thinking about that business owner and his family, and you might forget the 10, 15 other people, right, that are dependent on that paycheck. Right?
That's right.
So that's incredibly sad.
Yeah, I've had to be a part of some of those meetings where we're in wind down mode. So I'm at the table with the owner, and we bring the key people, the employees in one by one. We bring in their management team one by one, and we say, hey, we've got a terminal illness situation. He's been given 6 months. We don't have a contingency plan. You have a job guaranteed for 6 months. But if we can't sell it, that's it. You're going to have to start looking for something else to do. And I've seen employees come to the table and go, you know what? We're going to pull this thing together. We're going to keep this thing going. We'll buy it. And so I've actually seen employees that come in, that have been there for 20, 30 years too, with this owner, helping them scale, helping them grow this business. They don't want to see it go away. They care about it almost as much as the founder does. And so they look at it like, well, we'll do it. We'll take it over. So,
are you familiar with that? What you just described reminded me of ESOPs. We had Jeff Forrestal in maybe about a month ago, speaking with Lee about that on one of our podcasts, and just seems like it's tailor-made for those kinds of situations if the planning
got done before the founder passed, before the ownership group transitions out. It's a great value. It's a great option for many companies because the employees, and I almost, when I'm explaining them to people, I'm almost like, think of a membership model, think of a co-op model. You're buying into this ownership, this collection, in this group. Some of the other options. I mean, we look at equity warrants for key people, phantom stock agreements if it's a large company and they want to pay people but not actually give them equity, but they bonus them on those structures, and then the buy sells. The key man life insurance policies. Those are really the four main, key ways where you preserve and save that value over time, and you keep the culture of the company. And I think that's the biggest. People really devalue the culture of a company, especially even if it's a thriving company. Because I've seen companies that sell to private equity, and they sell on a great multiple. And then every single employee that's at that company is within a year or two.
Yeah, it's sad.
They're unhappy because they go, we lost who we were. We lost the dynamics of this company. The culture of this company is gone. And, unfortunately, they're not the ones in charge.
Yeah, they're not.
Once private equity takes over, private equity controls it.
Has this planning aspect always been a part of your, what the word I'm looking for, identity or something since you were a kid, a planner?
A little bit of a planner. Yeah. A lot of a planner, actually. Both my parents are planners, very goal-oriented, very hardworking. So I grew up in a family with both parents working. I remember, many, many weeks of 5, 6, and 7 days of work, and not just, hey, it's 40 hours, clock in, clock out. And there's nothing wrong with a 40-hour employee. But, I watched my dad work 70, 80 hours a week sometimes. And so setting that standard of you don't have to stop because a governmental entity says you need to, or because, an employer says you need to. That's what I love about entrepreneurship, though, because you get to stop when you decide to stop. And so, yeah, there's a lot of hours in the saddle, and I've always focused on that real goal-oriented, future perspective. I'm working today for tomorrow. I'm working today for next week. I'm working today for next year, and maintaining that focus in a way that I don't ever lose sight of today. Because I don't want to be so forward-thinking and so 30,000-foot view that I lose my ability to deliver on today. But I also can't ever lose sight of the 30,000-foot view. Why are we doing this? Why am I working so hard? Why do I want to scale my business? Why do I want to put in more time than my peers? Why do, you start asking yourself those questions. And people's why can be very different. But I think the how is just as important. How you work, how you treat people, how you treat your clients, how, you go, and I talked about when we have to talk to employees about letting them go. On the same front, I'm in the trenches with a lot of these owners when they're going through trials, when they're not sure if their business is going to make it through the year, or when they start having to sell assets or sell pieces of real estate because things aren't going well. So, I try to focus on being their attorney that's not just transactional. Yes, that's what I do. But I'm not just looking at them as a person on a piece of paper.
Right.
I'm looking at them as a person. And so, many times I probably feel a little bit more like a therapist than an attorney. But it's because many times these business owners don't realize just how amazing they are. They don't realize just how, so many people don't even want to start in business because it's too risky. And there's too many variables that they can't control. But just taking that leap, just taking that 1, 2, 3 steps into starting your own thing, or with a partner, with a friend, with a group of friends, something that if you work hard enough at it, you're going to outwork most of your competition day one. You're probably going to be better than 50% of the people out there, right? And then you control your attitude, you control your effort. And we talk a lot about Georgia football, but it's why it resonates with us, right? Because your attitude, your energy, those are the things you get to control. And then hours in the saddle, if you're an entrepreneur, you get to control that too. So I find many weeks, I never get tired of working because I love it, but I don't just love it because, oh yeah, it's good paycheck. I love it because I get to take care of people. And so I look at it like the more hours I work, the more hours in the saddle that I put in, not only the more lessons I learn, but the more people I help. The more business owners I get to help, the more problems I get to solve. I'm a big puzzle guy, right? So I'm always looking at business setup, business exits, partnership disputes, real estate acquisitions, whatever it may be that they're dealing with. Those are puzzles for me, and I gobble those up. I love them because I get a lot of value intrinsically in that helping, in that assistance, even if I'm a small part of it. They only want to do a limited engagement with me. Hey, file this company, be our registered agent, do a very, regular looking operating agreement, nothing too fancy. We don't need much more. Great. I can handle that. But then I also have many business owners where I get to watch them grow. And I'm essentially like outside general counsel for their whole business. So when they have problems, well, who are they going to call? They're going to call the puzzle guy because that's who helped them solve the last one. And that's the guy that was there. I mean, I tell this story sometimes. One of my very first years, we had an acquisition that was set to close on December 28th, which was that year was the last business day of the year, just with how the dates fell. And it was a brand new entity that had to get set up. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but the IRS shuts down. So they don't issue new EIN numbers many times in the last year and last week of the year and the first week of the next year. They shut down for system and site maintenance. A great time to do that. And so I was talking to my clients on Christmas Day, and we have an acquisition that's set to close in 3 days after that. And they're like, we can't get our EIN number. We've been trying to for 2 weeks. And I'm like, doesn't work online. We ended up getting it by fax. Wow. And we had escalated it, old school fax. It still works. But we found the one person on the very last day before their system maintenance went down. And it was, I think the system maintenance started that year on like the 27th. And so on the 26th, because they were closed on the 25th, well, I wasn't closed on the 25th. I'm talking to them about the plan of action that we executed on the 26th at 9 in the morning. Finally got somebody on the phone, spent 4 hours on the phone with the IRS that day. Well, I can't do it this way. Let's try this. Let's try that. I'm like, if I fax you this, will that work? They're like, yeah, that'll work.
Jeez.
So, but we still closed. We closed that tax year. And that, it seems like such a simple thing, getting your EIN number. Every business needs one. So you should be able to get one when you need one, right? The IRS wants you to pay taxes. They should issue them pretty easily. Unfortunately, it's not always easy. And sometimes that real simple stuff becomes the real difficult stuff that makes a transaction fail.
This probably wasn't your main takeaway from this story, but I couldn't help but think about we're starting to get to the age where, like, growing up, I'd hear my parents talk about like an 8-track or something and a device, and but this is the fax machine, man.
That's right.
The fax is going to be, people have no idea what a fax is.
That's right.
Which I think we need to bring back faxes on National Signing Day.
I'm ready.
Football.
It was exciting then because the first faxes to arrive, they would always highlight those the national letter of intent signings for football players, and people don't even think about that side of it anymore. It's such a random formality that's such a small part of it. Now it's about, what did I post on social media? What was my media cut? What was my graphics cut? And what music did my graphics person put on it? So, yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes old school is the best, and whether it's fax, I've got a typewriter because there are times where I have to fix a deed, I have to fix an original. I can't just scan that into Adobe and mess with it. I've got to go in, and if there's a legal description that's spelled wrong, I got to put it in the typewriter, resubmit it for recording. I mean, it just seems like it's such a trivial thing, right? But you want the land records to be right. You want the legal description to a property to read right. Because if you don't fix it and somebody finds it down 20 years later, 30 years later, when they do their title exam and nobody ever fixed it, it could prevent that same thing from happening on December 28th. That could prevent the closing from going through because of something that I did or did not do 30 years ago.
Right. Where do you even find a typewriter?
They still make them, believe it or not.
You bought one,
I bought one from an antique shop. Got it refurbished. Yeah, and they did make some digital ones that are still not great from the 80s, but the old school typewriters they still work, and there's still a very few people that will work on them for you. You got to find those people. And I think there's a scene in like Yellowstone or one of those where he's getting the spurs made, and he's like, nobody makes the spurs like this anymore. I think it's similar for typewriter repair. Yeah.
Well, cool. You started to touch on the why. And I think you dropped some nuggets in there, what that might be for you. But why hang your own shingle? Why are you doing this? What do you see down the road for yourself?
So the why for me starts and ends with the client, right? I don't do this. I could have easily done and stayed in different law firms that I've worked through my entire career. Just making good money, relatively low risk, but I wanted to push myself. I wanted to see, bet on myself. What are you going to deliver for these people? Because you say you can deliver a lot of things, and then when my full-time job becomes delivering for these clients on my own firm, it just hits a little bit different. When you are able to sign the check that's got your firm name on it, and take care of people in that way, it just feels a little bit different. The why for me is always it starts and finishes with the client. It's the more people I can help, the better I can do, the better I can do for my community, the better I can do for their business, their family. And, that why piece, because I work with so many small business owners, when their family members, after they've passed away, come to me. I had this happen actually about a week ago. And I was at a funeral a little bit before that. But when the family trusts you, not just the founder, because they know that you treated their mom or dad right, and you treated them right, and you were honest with them, you set up a good plan for them, the family wants to use you as well. And so I look at, it's not just repeat referral business. It's repeat family business. And that's my why, is helping families with their continuity. It's helping them really focus on what did mom or dad, grandma, grandpa, what did they want? And how can I do my part to execute that, to honor them? And so I get a lot of value out of that, and it's a lot of honor out of that. And so I look at it too. I think you and I talked about it, and it's the mark that I want to leave isn't really about me. It's about grandkids, nieces, nephews, It's 3 to 4 generations away. I want them to think of me, my family to think of me like I think of my grandparents, because they left such a wonderful legacy for me to look up to. And I look at it from my perspective as to honor them, I work the way I work. I work that hard. I don't give up. I do another couple hours because something's got to get done. Something's got to get out the door. That's what drives me. That's my why, because my honor of them is the same honor that I want to be thought of and remembered from. And it's kind of a weird thing. I don't care about accolades. I don't care about trophies. I don't care about certificates. I care about, were you honest? Did you have integrity? Would your grandkids want to talk to you and come see you? Would your grandkids want to honor you when they are ready to start their business? Those are the things that I look at in terms of legacy. You don't do it for the legacy, but you do it for the values that build the legacy.
Yeah, makes sense. As I've gotten to know you over the last couple of years, one of the things I think is unique, or a value at least that you and I share, is that sense of family and duty. I know for me, my grandfather came here from Cuba, I think at 15 or 16, meat cutter. And my grandmother's from Puerto Rico, and she worked in the deli and bakery at Publix. Not her whole life, but whatever, the last 15, 20 years. And for my dad, it was like, he just wanted to wear a suit and a tie. He didn't care what it was. He wanted to do, just to make better, right? And for me, I think I felt that same sense of like, okay, I got to do, better than my father, right? That's what we're here, to do. Those are the values that are instilled. And it's my dad has always said, there's no better feeling in the world than when somebody asks him, how are your kids doing, that he can just say something good. Right. He doesn't have to lie or make something up. It's just, they were doing well, right? And I think I catch a lot of that in what you've described. And what did, if you don't mind sharing, what did your grandfather?
Yeah, so both my grandparents, it's interesting. I guess I'll start on my dad's side, and I'll actually start with my great-grandfather. So it's an interesting lineage from North Georgia and Tennessee, founded that area back in the 1800s. So been here a long time, long family history. My great-grandfather was illiterate and couldn't read or write, signed his name with an X. I've seen the census documents to review it. It's wild. My grandfather was the first person to graduate from high school in my whole family, and my dad was the second. And so when I went to law school, I had no attorneys in my family. I'm not a third or a fourth or a junior or anything else. So you asked earlier about, why are you an entrepreneur? I didn't have any other choice. I didn't have any other, I don't have a senior partner that I'm going to go work for out of law school that also happens to be my dad, right? My dad was my high school principal. And so for me to even be able to go to law school and I think a lot of people, unfortunately, will typecast you however they see fit, because everybody likes to put people in boxes, and I don't like to fit in a box, right? So I look at it as, judge me based on my effort, my merit, my hard work, my work ethic, and how I treat you. And that was what was instilled throughout in my family history. And so my grandfather was an amazing man, and he wouldn't talk about any of his accolades. Did 2 tours in Vietnam. He was a platoon sergeant. And prior to Vietnam, he was actually in the military prior to that. He joined the military at 17. I think he may have not quite been 17 and may have fudged a little something. But when you come from, when your dad's illiterate, I don't think you need a permission slip. Yeah. And he was actually stationed over in Germany after World War II and helped a lot with that rebuild of that country and gained that military service, and met my grandmother over in West Germany and brought her here. And during his time in the military, he was part of what's called the President's 100, which in the armed services, there's 2 different variations. There's pistol and rifle, and it's the best 100 marksmen in the entire armed forces. It's a competition every year. And so he was really, really into shooting. But he was really into everything. Everything he ever got into, he went fully into. So it was chess, it was fly fishing, it was when the internet became a thing. I think he's the only one that's actually reached the end of the internet. He'd be there at 3 a.m. He's still, I gotta look at this. But he's such an inspiring man because to me, it came across like he never got tired. And he always was curious, and he always was passionate, and he always lived all the way. And it wasn't, I'm too tired for this. I don't have time for this. And you talk about family, that's the focus that I have. I work so hard right now because I make time for the other stuff. And that is the priority. That's why I work the way I do. And it's to build those, it can't be on fire all the time. Sometimes I got to take a deep breath and I got to focus on the priority again, which is that family. And then on my mom's side, you talk about entrepreneurial spirit. So my great-grandparents on my mom's side are very interesting people as well. My great-grandmother, Nanny, when she died, she was the oldest woman in Smyrna, which was interesting. And her husband, when he died, was the oldest man in Smyrna. They were both 103.
Wow.
Just wild, but amazing people, hard workers. And Nanny she worked for Lockheed. And so people talk about like Rosie the Riveter, and she was like the HR manager for Rosie the Riveters. She had one of the oldest female pensions, I think, in the whole Lockheed Martin company at the time. And my grandfather, Jack, he was self-made entrepreneur from, I believe, just about 1819 forward. And he owned various companies, parts stores, he built houses. And he's 87, and he's still building houses.
Wow.
He's 87-year-old. And I don't know why he's doing that because he didn't have to do that anymore. But he loves it. And so you get the passion from one side, the entrepreneurial spirit from one side, the consistency and family focus on the other. The real, the value. It's not a value judgment. It's a value priority, right? So prioritizing what our family values are, what we stand for, knowing that what we say is we're good for it. You can trust us. You can believe us, and we're gonna outwork. I try to outwork everybody around me because I feel like if I surround myself with people that are constantly outworking me too, and I'm trying to outwork them, we're all going to get better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter, even if we fail. I'd say it all the time. I fail full speed. I want to go ahead and learn that lesson. Because I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as a lesson. And I want to learn that lesson full speed. And so both of those sides of the family kind of made me the way I am. And I've been driven, I guess, pretty much my whole life. I feel like my mom she'll probably tell you that too. I've basically been like 90 years old since I was 5. So I talk to people in full sentences and treat them. I've always gotten along with adults and elder statesmen of the world. I find myself very comfortable in the presence of, 80, 90-year-old people. And it's the ability to listen, the ability to be patient with them, and the ability to show them, because this is what everybody's missing. All these people that are 80 plus, the wisdom that they have, it's going to be gone when they're gone, because a lot of their grandkids are not spending the time. They're not capturing this wisdom. They're not writing it down. We've actually talked about how we should go out with Jack on his farm and have him teach us all these little things that he does and the why behind it. He would never agree or sign a media release or be on a podcast. He's 87. He just loves to do things. He loves to tinker. He loves to build. He loves to farm. He loves to live in ways that are sustainable. And, it's such a missing piece why we're not capturing the wisdom of all these people. We'll just instead have them, you need to go in assisted living. Okay, well, let's go capture, and there's nothing wrong with assisted living facilities. I work with tons of those facilities. They do great work. They're very supportive. But many times, family, friends, business partners, they're not keeping our elder statesmen and women involved because they're not asking for their wisdom. They got plenty of wisdom to give, and it keeps their mind sharp. I think there was a study done. I don't know if it was Japan or one of those countries. It might have been I think it might have been Singapore, actually. and they looked at like the age where people that had 3 generations living in the same household or within immediate proximity of that household, both the outcomes for the children were better and the life expectancy for the grandparents was longer. And it's that's there's something to that. And we're so focused on the day-to-day. We're so focused on how busy we are that we lose sight of that, gaining that wisdom, being appreciative of that wisdom, and then using that wisdom to make your business better. If I have an entrepreneurial grandfather who's 87 years old, if I'm not asking him what he did wrong in business over the last 67 years, then what am I doing?
Is there something that comes to mind that he shared with you? Or
His honesty, the way he treats people. I've never heard a single person, and I've met tons of people who've known him since he was very young, and I've never heard anybody say bad things about him. Now, he's a mess. Okay, my mom would say that when I was 3 or 4 years old, I would say, that was my grandpa Jack. He's the funniest guy I know. He's hilarious. He's always got a joke. He's always quick-witted. But you always know how much he cares about you. And he cares about everybody like he cares about his own family. He treats people that way. He treats them with respect. And, same thing with Amos, my other grandfather who had passed. I never heard anybody say a bad thing about him either. And that doesn't happen by accident. When you live with integrity and you live with your word being bond, and you live preserving and protecting your reputation. And I think, reputation is not just what you did. It's also what you're going to do and how consistently are you going to do it. Because that's what people are relying on. They're not just relying on what you did before. They're relying on your reputation consistency and how you're going to continue to treat them as a client, as a friend. I don't always show up for all my friends all the time. I'm pulled in a lot of different directions. I know you and I have talked about that. We'll go fishing or we have to almost schedule that out in advance. And how important is that? And the networking piece of it, the friendship piece of it, cultivating those things is just as important as business. And that's unfortunately, a lot of the folks out there don't focus on that. They don't think about that side of the business. They think about deliverables. They think about deadlines. They think about content. They think about getting stuff done. But they don't think about the next things they got to get done. And when they're in a pinch, who are they going to call? Because of the network they've built, because of the people they trust, and the people that trust them because they showed up.
What is there a rabbit hole or something that you've gone down lately? I mean, you're starting a business, so you're pretty your time that's full.
Can that be my rabbit hole? No. I would say the integration of AI within infrastructure and law firms has been, it's a part of my business, right? I have to use it because if you're an attorney, you got to be careful. So you have this boundary line, bumpers on a bowling alley, so to speak. You have guidelines that you can't do. I can't just dish something off to AI and pass it off as my work because AI didn't pass the bar. And it can, but they didn't hire AI to be their attorney. They hired me. And there are integrations that have been helpful, even that I didn't even think would exist 5 years ago within a transaction. Much of the data entry piece of that has been really, really resolved by AI, but it still messes up. It still puts things in the wrong buckets. I still got to go back through and correct things. And I'm pretty sure when AI first started happening, there were actually attorneys that got disbarred because they would file things in the court and it would cite case law that didn't even exist, and they wouldn't check it down. So you have to be careful. And so I am very concerned about too much reliance on AI. I'm always concerned also about, and there's nothing wrong with the business supports legal programs of the world and on websites. If people want to go that route, they're probably not going to be a fit for me. They might be a fit for me when it goes wrong and they can't get somebody to answer the phone when they call their 800 number that they paid a couple $100 to and thought that's all they needed to do. Those are great fits for me. But For the people that aren't focused on it, that are in my industry, they're probably going to go out of business. Because just like in the last 5 years, a lot of the stuff that I can do now didn't exist. In the next 5, how much is it going to explode? And so if you're not keeping up with it, if you're not paying attention to it, it's problematic for you. I'd say so that's the law firm rabbit hole, because I have to be very careful about what inputs I include in my law firm infrastructure. But in terms of, other rabbit holes, I would say, looking at, I guess, some of the archaeological advances, I read a lot. And so what you read in school has probably changed about 100 times, if not more. I love documentaries. I love learning. And I think, my dad as an educator probably instilled that in me, but my mom too, because she was the one that really focused on reading. And, I don't know anybody that reads as many books a year as my dad does. I don't, because I'm reading 1,000-page contracts every week. So it's, the reading for business versus reading for pleasure and learning is a little bit different. But the focus on reading, learning, taking in new information, and not just because Instagram told you or because LinkedIn made a post and you read that post, but investigating it a step further, 2 steps further, going to the source and understanding, and then making an opinion for yourself. That's been a real, I would say, rabbit hole for me, just overall, because the history that we were taught probably a little bit different than
Is there a
actual
specific
history.
example that's coming to mind? Like,
I think some of the stuff with, and I'm a podcast fan, so like I know Joe Rogan talks a lot about Göbekli Tepe or Tepe, whatever it's called, but those old historical sites in
Peru?
And I think that one's in Turkey, but the ones in Peru, the Nazca lines, like all that, it's like ancient aliens, like a guilty pleasure, and I don't know where I stand on that, right? I don't. It's not like I believe in aliens or don't believe in aliens.
You can wave the flag.
But I love. It's entertaining, right? It's entertaining to think about it because it's not reality TV even to me. It's just watching somebody else try to support their opinion. So I guess it's kind of like law school is, where you're watching somebody defend a position that you're completely disagreeing with. So I'd say that's maybe a little bit of a rabbit hole, and you could take that in whichever way you want, whether it's the pyramid, different new ideas and hypotheses about the pyramids in Egypt and stuff underneath them or not, or what are they used for, or how did you make them, how'd you get these stones moved, like all that stuff's fascinating to me. And I don't really know why it's fascinating, other than it was people trying to solve a problem that nobody knows how they did it. And so it's unlimited how many opinions there can be about it. So I love watching people support their opinions that nobody can verify if they're right or wrong. It's just like,
well, yeah, I mean, for somebody with your mindset, like you share, that loves to solve problems, the idea of an unsolvable problem, I could see would be pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I enjoy that stuff as well too. I think what I find most fascinating about those topics, I enjoy listening to Rogan as well, is just this idea that we tend to think that the time that we know everything, right, and or that what we know is right. Versus, there's so much stuff from 50, 100 years ago that's been completely disproved. And I find it super fascinating to know, what do we think about today that is fact that's just going to be completely false, right, in the future. And there's no way to know, right? We're in it. But those types of topics, I think, are so cool.
I think that's why I took Latin on the way up in high school and in college, and why I have a fascination with the classics and watching how our constitutional republic was created on the basis and founding of some of the original democracies, and how our founding documents and how our Constitution is interpreted through years. So it has that professional aspect. In my industry, obviously, I have to know a lot of that. I'm not a constitutional lawyer by any means, but I have such great respect for it, because for so long that document was formed, and then it still stands up today. And that's pretty wild. It's pretty wild and same thing with like the architecture in Rome. I mean, it's crumbling, but a lot of the stuff's still there. That's crazy. And some of that stuff's 3,000-4,000 years old. So the respect for it and I think the fascination with it that controls for sure. But, I've always had, because of the problem solving, watching how different cultures solve problems, watching how different communities solve problems, because I represent, Gwinnett County is one of the most diverse counties in the country, and I represent people in every single different community within Gwinnett, different languages, different family structures, different cultures, and problems are solved different ways. And so I really enjoy watching other cultures, how they solve their problems traditionally, because that's bread and butter for them. And it isn't how I solve a problem, isn't how my family solves problems, but that's how their culture solves problems. And I have a lot of respect for that, because that becomes part of negotiations. I'll have deals where I'm thinking this thing's about to terminate. This thing's about to get thrown out the window. The parties are going to sue each other. Everything's going to fall apart. And then 2 days later, suddenly we're ready to close because everybody came to an agreement. Because
Can you share one of those tactics that when they just like completely surprised you? This isn't going to work.
I've told many clients on many occasions, you really are going to ask for a price reduction when we're supposed to close in 2 weeks. And I know you got your inspection done, but you saw the numbers, you saw what you're buying, you saw the value of it, came back. You're getting this at a discount, but then you're going to go ahead and ask for an additional price reduction. And the level of confidence that I always get back from them, oh no, they're going to accept it. And I'm just like, why? Why would they accept it? Why? What? They are not compelled to accept it. We're under contract for this number, but you want to go back and ask for an additional reduction. And so sometimes I'll try to talk them out of it, but they're sitting there like, no, we'll get it across. And they have this sidebar conversation, which I tell them, hey, you're represented by counsel. Don't go directly to them. They don't listen, and that's fine. But then they get that result, and it's wild to watch. And I'm just like, how did you do that? And we just had an understanding. I'm like, okay.
Have you pulled that over into your personal life at all ever? And that could be like, I don't know, at a restaurant or something. Or
I'm probably the worst. I don't haggle. I don't send food back.
Yeah.
I always tip at least 20%. So I'm like the restaurant owner's happy person, because I'm never going to leave them a bad review. If it's a bad meal, then I'm just not going to say anything. So that's the worst thing that's going to happen. And you're still going to get a 20% tip even if the service isn't good. I think people that have worked in service industry, there's never been a time where I didn't leave a tip. But it's the respect for those people's work. And because that was my first job, was at a restaurant at P.F. Chang's. And I think I dropped food all over myself like my second day. Big plate of oolong sea bass. That was a lot of fun. It was very hot, burned my shoulder. It's a good time. Still remember that like it was yesterday. Right. Still smell it. Can't eat oolong sea bass, I can tell you that. No, but the respect for every industry, I think, because every industry professional deserves respect. I don't care if you're a plumber. I don't care if you're a janitor. I don't care if you are a CEO. You get that respect that you earn. And if you treat others with respect, you're many times going to get that back. And so I try, that's my MO. I'm not ever going to send food back. I'm not ever going to complain about service. I'm not really ever going to haggle on prices. A lot of my clients like to haggle with me on prices, which is always fun. Because it's always, it's interesting. It's like you wouldn't go to your doctor's office and negotiate your medical services, but I guess,
maybe you should.
A doctor of law is a little bit different, right? So, no, it's, I have a lot of clients that like to negotiate their fees. Yeah. So, and then I just, I'm not for everybody. And but I'm, and I always tell them, like, look, if you can get somebody to do it better, faster, and cheaper than me, you should go with them. And and maybe that sends a potential client out the door. But if they're only coming to me because of a discount or because of a price, do I actually want that person as a client? Because my biggest value that I'm providing them is the care and the level of care that I'm bringing to them. I'm going to answer my phone at 8 o'clock at night. I'm going to text them on the weekend. I'm going to email them back, a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're paying for. And so, if you have expectations that someone is purely transactional and purely doing something with you because of a price that you gave them, then you're undervaluing yourself as a professional.
Yep.
Because if you don't think of yourself as providing more than just value in terms of pricing, and you don't look at your value elsewhere, you don't look at your value as client delivery, and then when something has to pivot and you have a solution because you've been through it 10 other times, because you have a creative solution that you thought of and that you saw worked before and you want to throw that out there, or when your client's on the ledge and you got to talk them off of it and keep them on a deal, I mean, that has value too. And so that focus, really has to be there for all clients all the time. I tell a lot of people that ask me about what I do, I said, a lot of what I do is teaching clients how to be clients. I texted a client this morning, hey, because he said, look, we got to have this today. I didn't know that you needed it today. I'm going to be on a podcast. No. But those are things that I always need to know. And so many times teaching my clients how to be clients, allowing them to understand that attorney-client privilege means attorney-client privilege. I don't just get to go tell your business to people. I don't get to go tell your struggles to people. I have to, but if you don't tell me, if you don't tell me about what the problem is, or you don't tell me nuances about the problem that are going to impact the outcome of how I solve that problem, then I can't solve what I don't know about. And so you're always, a lot of what I do has to become that like solving for the unknown, because granted, not everybody wants to trust attorneys. They don't trust lawyers. They think that lawyers lie, cheat, and steal, right? Because that's unfortunately a media portrayal and or just bad lawyers through the years taking advantage of people, again, because of price, because they're only focused on how much money they can make, not how much impact they can make. And so rebuilding trust in lawyers, I guess, is maybe part of my mission. You asked earlier about why I started the business, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's, if you only know one attorney, because again, a lot of these people, unless you're wrapped up in the criminal justice system, or you go through a divorce, or, you have some sort of like weird one-off thing, many times people don't interact with attorneys on a day-to-day basis, unless they're buying a house, or they get their will and estate plan set up, or they're starting a business. So that's why I went the avenues I did, because I tell all my clients too, like, you get me, you get my network. And so even if it's something that I can't solve directly for you, I know somebody that can, and I trust them. And I would go to them with my problem if it was this problem. And so providing that value for them, I think is, again, it's worth more than money, because I've introduced, and I don't get a dime from that. I don't introduce, my insurance agent, he's amazing. He does all my stuff. But I introduced him to a client, and it's one of his biggest clients for the year. He just closed. I don't ask for anything from that, and I don't ask for a referral fee, and nor could I accept one. But it's about putting good people with good people. And so that's why I tell my clients that, look, you have a unique problem that I can't solve, or that I'm not qualified to solve, or that I'm not licensed to solve. Well, I know people that are, and I trust them. So, and by trusting me as their attorney, it's they become a reflection, my referrals, that is, they become a reflection on me too. Because if one of my people in my network doesn't do the right thing, that blows back on me. So I'm always focused on who's there, who's in the network, who's in the rotation, who do I send business to, because I know they're going to deliver, and I know they're going to treat my clients like I treat my clients, because I wouldn't send my clients to just anybody. I would only send them to people that are going to treat them like I treat them.
It's important. Got one more question for you as we're wrapping up. Is there a particular problem that you're working on right now that you literally have no idea how it's going to turn out? Because I want to ask you when you come back how it ended up shaking out, but one that sticks out, you're not really sure.
I think that business sale that I mentioned earlier, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I've got 3 different options on it right now. We're negotiating. One's a full buyout, one's a licensing agreement, and then one is a dissolution, and basically selling for spare parts. All three are viable right now. All three are going to bring some level of value to my client, but my client doesn't. They don't want to keep running this business. They've agreed to stay on, help, consult, continue to help whoever the buyer becomes. That problem isn't a problem because it's anybody that's still living. It's not any of their fault. You can't, as a child or grandchild of an owner, founder, or partner, you can't mandate that that business owner has a continuity plan. You can't mandate that they have a business succession plan. You can't mandate that they have insurance. You can't mandate that they sell things a certain way, keep their books a certain way. You can't. So at the death, that's the puzzle. And I don't get to change the pieces. I just have to try to solve it. Now, that puzzle's going to look different depending on which of the three routes we go. And we could technically do a combination of a couple. So I'll let you know how that one works out. That'll be interesting because I don't know. And my client doesn't really have a preference because my client, if you really think about it, is deceased. My original client, I did their will a week before they died. Thank God I did, because we'd be probably 4 more years before we ever got into any of this. So, focusing on the problems I can solve with the pieces I've been given, I think is very interesting.
Name of the game.
That's right.
How can people find you?
So my website, jpgattorneys.com. You can email me, Jaryd, Jaryd, thanks Mom for the spelling, at jpgattorneys.com. And I'm in downtown Suwanee, right off town center, born and raised in Suwanee, Georgia. So think of it as your new Suwanee hometown law firm. We haven't had a ton of attorneys there that make their mainstay that community, but that's where I'm from. It's where I grew up. And so I'm working out from there. And I'm licensed in Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. Do stuff all over the country, just depending on what the deal is. Obviously, if it's not a state I'm licensed in or not licensed in, I can't give a legal opinion. But I can still consult. I can still help. I can still put people with people. That's what I do. Okay.
I lied. I got one more question.
All right.
Big game this weekend.
There is.
What you got a prediction for the Georgia-Bama game?
Score prediction. I think it's going to be 31-14 Dogs.
All right. I was thinking, is that 31-18 or 33-18, whatever the score that national game.
33-18.
33-18.
That's pretty good.
Let's hope for it.
But if we keep them down to 14, my sister went to Alabama, so it's an interesting. I went to Georgia, she went to Alabama. Brother went to Georgia Tech. We're all confused except for me. But I cheered at Georgia, and I'm looking forward to the atmosphere. It's going to be loud. It's going to be, and I hope we learned a little bit from visiting and beating Texas and Austin last year from their light show, because they put on a show out in Austin.
That'd be cool.
And so I'm really hopeful that the production team is ready for a night game, because I'm ready for it.
Let's do it, man.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming.
Go Dogs.